What happens when one of Hollywood's most unfiltered stars sits across the table from one of daytime television's sharpest legal minds and refuses to play along? Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Stage View, hit that like button, and drop a comment below, because what you're about to witness is the kind of television moment people will be talking about for years. The studio lights inside the View burned brighter than usual that morning. The audience had come for the usual mix of politics, pop culture, and pointed debate. They didn't know they were about to witness something that would send shockwaves across social media before the credits even rolled. Backstage, Jennifer Lawrence adjusted the sleeve of her sleek black blazer, her jaw tight, her expression unreadable. She had done this countless times: press junkets, award shows, late-night interviews. But today felt different. The air carried a charge. Maybe it was the topic. Maybe it was the host. Across the hall, Sunny Hostin reviewed her notes one last time. Former federal prosecutor. Sharp, methodical, never afraid to press harder when the answers felt too polished. Her producers had briefed her. Don't go soft. Ask the real questions. Sunny didn't need the reminder. The music swelled. Applause erupted. Cameras rolled. Jennifer walked onto the stage with that familiar mix of elegance and irreverence, waving to the crowd. The audience roared. She smiled, wide, dazzling, practiced. But her eyes flicked toward the table where Sunny sat poised, pen resting atop her cue cards. The first few minutes were easy. Laughter. A light joke about filming in the cold. A playful jab at Hollywood's obsession with sequels. Sunny leaned forward. Jennifer, you've been very outspoken recently about political responsibility in Hollywood. Jennifer nodded cautiously. I think when you have a platform, you should use it. The crowd murmured approval. Sunny didn't smile. But some critics say celebrities stepping into political discourse can be irresponsible. That it's performative activism rather than informed advocacy. The shift was subtle, but it was there. The temperature in the room dropped a degree. Jennifer tilted her head. Irresponsible? For caring. Sunny's tone remained even. For influencing millions without necessarily having the expertise. A ripple ran through the audience. Jennifer's fingers tightened in her lap. She'd heard this before. The implication that actors should stick to scripts. Smile. Wave. Stay quiet. She inhaled slowly. I don't claim to be a policy expert, but I do research. I listen. I talk to people who are directly affected. Sunny interjected gently but firmly. Yet your statements can sway public opinion. Don't you think there's a risk in simplifying complex issues for sound bites? There it was. Not an attack, at least not overtly, but a challenge. A courtroom tone. Jennifer's smile faded just slightly. I think, she began carefully, that staying silent because you're afraid of being criticized is a bigger risk. The audience clapped, hesitant at first, then louder. Sunny didn't back down. But silence and misinformation are different things. A collective gasp fluttered across the crowd. The co-hosts exchanged glances. This was no longer light daytime banter. Jennifer's eyes sharpened. Are you implying I spread misinformation? Sunny held her gaze. I'm asking whether you believe your influence comes with accountability. The tension coiled tight between them. Jennifer leaned forward now, matching Sunny's posture. Absolutely. Which is why I don't just tweet something and walk away. I fund organizations. I meet with lawmakers. I don't just perform. The last word lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. Sunny's brow lifted slightly. Some would argue that fundraising doesn't equal understanding policy depth. A hush fell so complete you could hear someone shift in their seat. Jennifer's laugh came out short. Not amused, defensive. With all due respect, Sunny, understanding policy depth isn't exclusive to law degrees. The audience reacted, some applause, some audible "oh" sounds. Sunny's expression hardened just a fraction. It's not exclusive, but it is foundational. Jennifer's heart pounded. She could feel the cameras tightening their zoom. Millions watching. Every micro-expression captured. Foundational, Jennifer repeated. You know what else is foundational? Empathy. Listening to people who are struggling instead of debating whether they deserve to speak. The room vibrated with energy now. The co-hosts shifted uncomfortably. Producers backstage exchanged frantic whispers through headsets. Sunny's voice lowered, measured but unmistakably pointed. Empathy doesn't replace facts. Jennifer didn't blink. And facts don't replace humanity. Applause thundered, louder this time. A split audience. Some cheering Jennifer's passion. Others nodding at Sunny's insistence on rigor. Sunny folded her hands. Do you believe celebrities sometimes amplify narratives without fully understanding their consequences? Jennifer's answer came without hesitation. I believe everyone does that sometimes, including journalists. There it was, the line that sliced clean through the polite veneer of daytime TV. A few gasps, a sharp intake of breath from someone near the front row. Sunny's eyes flashed. Are you equating my profession with reckless amplification? I'm saying no one is immune, Jennifer replied, voice steady but fierce. Not actors, not lawyers, not talk show hosts. The energy tipped from tense to combustible. One co-host attempted a nervous chuckle. Okay, ladies, we're getting deep this morning. But neither woman laughed. Sunny leaned closer. This show exists to question power. Jennifer's response was immediate. Then question all of it. Silence. The audience didn't know whether to clap or hold their breath. Jennifer continued, voice lower now, more personal. When I speak out, I'm not doing it because it's trendy. I do it because I've seen what happens when people with influence stay quiet. Sunny countered. And when influence misleads? Jennifer's jaw tightened. Then correct it. Don't dismiss it. The tension was palpable, almost physical. Somewhere in the control room, a producer whispered, "This is going viral." But on stage, it didn't feel viral. It felt raw. Sunny's tone softened just slightly. Jennifer, I'm not dismissing your passion. I'm asking about responsibility. And I'm telling you, Jennifer replied, her voice catching just a fraction, that responsibility isn't silence. The audience erupted again, this time louder than ever. But beneath the applause, there was something else. A crack in the polished surface of daytime television. A moment that felt less like promotion and more like confrontation. Sunny glanced down at her notes, then back up. Let me ask you this plainly. Do you believe Hollywood voices should carry the same weight as subject matter experts? Jennifer paused. The studio lights felt hotter. The silence stretched. And when she spoke again, her tone had changed. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't rehearsed. It was bold. I believe, she said slowly, that lived experience carries weight. And I believe dismissing someone because they're an actor is just another way of controlling who gets to speak. A murmur ran through the crowd, half admiration, half shock. Sunny opened her mouth to respond. But Jennifer wasn't done. And if we're going to talk about responsibility, she added, her eyes locking onto Sunny's, let's talk about how media chooses which voices to amplify and which ones to interrogate. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. For the first time that morning, Sunny didn't answer immediately. The co-host stared. The audience leaned forward. And millions at home felt it. That electric, unpredictable shift when an interview stops being scripted and starts becoming history. The music cue that usually signaled a commercial break hovered in limbo. Because something had just changed. And it was only the beginning. The silence didn't just linger. It thickened. For a split second, the studio felt smaller. Like the walls themselves were leaning in to listen. Sunny's fingers tapped once against her cue cards. Not nervous. Calculated. She had spent years in courtrooms where hesitation could cost you everything. But this wasn't a courtroom. This was live television. And the rules were different. Jennifer held her gaze, unblinking. The audience shifted in their seats. Sunny finally spoke, her voice measured but edged with steel. Are you suggesting this show selectively interrogates guests based on ideology? There it was. The reframing. The pivot. Jennifer didn't flinch. I'm suggesting that sometimes the hardest questions aren't distributed equally. A ripple of murmurs ran through the crowd. One of the co-hosts tried to interject, her smile tight. We ask tough questions of everyone. Jennifer turned slightly but kept her eyes mostly on Sunny. Not always. Gasps. Sunny leaned back slowly, studying her. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, Jennifer replied. It's an observation. The word landed like a gavel. From the control room, producers were already scrambling. Segment timing was dissolving. The teleprompter sat untouched. This was no longer promotion for a new film. It had become something raw. Sunny clasped her hands together. Jennifer, this platform has hosted voices across the spectrum. If you're implying bias, I'd like specifics. Jennifer's expression shifted. Less combative. More deliberate. You want specifics? She asked softly. The audience went still. Okay. She inhaled. When certain public figures come on here and dismiss systemic issues, they're often met with gentle pushback. But when actors or artists express concern, suddenly it's about expertise. Credentials. Qualifications. Sunny's eyes narrowed. Because influence matters. And so does impact, Jennifer shot back. When someone in power dismisses lived experiences, that shapes policy. When I speak about those experiences, I get told to stay in my lane. Applause broke out, loud, uneven, emotionally charged. Sunny raised a hand slightly, signaling she wasn't finished. Influence without accountability is dangerous. And accountability without introspection is hypocrisy, Jennifer replied. The temperature spiked again. One audience member whispered audibly, "Oh my God." Sunny's voice sharpened. "Are you calling me a hypocrite?" Jennifer hesitated. For the first time, there was a flicker of doubt behind her eyes. This was the line. Cross it, and there's no walking back. "I'm saying," she answered carefully, "that every institution, including media, has blind spots." Sunny didn't blink. "And you've diagnosed ours in a single segment?" A tense beat passed. Jennifer exhaled slowly. "No, but I've felt it." The word felt cut from something personal. Sunny caught that. Felt what? Jennifer's jaw tightened again, but this time not in anger. "In interviews," she said quietly, "when I talk about funding reproductive health programs, I get asked if I understand economics. When male actors talk about the same issues, they're praised for bravery." The crowd reacted instantly, some clapping, some shifting uncomfortably. Sunny leaned forward again. "That's a broader cultural issue, not unique to this show." "Exactly," Jennifer said. "It's cultural, which means we're all part of it." The co-host on the far end finally jumped in. "Jennifer, do you think you're being scrutinized more because of your visibility?" Jennifer gave a small, humorless smile. "Visibility shouldn't invalidate perspective." Sunny interjected. "But perspective isn't policy. And policy isn't personal?" Jennifer countered. The exchange was becoming rhythmic now. Sharp. Almost surgical. Sunny tilted her head. "You're conflating emotional truth with legislative complexity. And you're separating them like they don't affect each other," Jennifer replied instantly. A few audience members stood to clap before awkwardly sitting back down. In homes across the country, remote controls froze midair. Twitter timelines began igniting. Sunny's voice lowered again, calmer, but more pointed than before. "Jennifer, do you believe expertise is elitism?" "No," Jennifer answered. "I believe gatekeeping is." The word hit hard. Sunny's lips pressed together. "Gatekeeping protects standards." "It also protects power," Jennifer said. There was a sharp intake of breath from someone in the front row. The control room flashed the wrap it up signal. The segment had run over. But no one dared cut to commercial. Sunny adjusted in her seat. "You've built an extraordinary career in Hollywood. Would you appreciate someone dismissing your craft because they've watched a few movies?" Jennifer's eyes flickered. "That's different," she said. "How?" Sunny pressed. "Because acting is my profession, and journalism is mine." Silence. Jennifer nodded slowly. "I respect that." "Then respect the questions," Sunny replied. The room froze. For a moment, it felt like the air had been sucked out. Jennifer leaned back slightly, absorbing it. The challenge. The line drawn in real time. "I do respect the questions," she said quietly. "But respect goes both ways." Sunny held her gaze. "Meaning?" "Meaning," Jennifer continued. "Don't assume that because I'm an actress, I haven't done the work." There it was again, that undercurrent of something deeper than debate. Something personal. Sunny softened her tone just a fraction. "No one's assuming you haven't done work. But work and expertise aren't identical." Jennifer's voice trembled, not with fear, but with intensity. "Do you know how many hours I've spent meeting with policy advisors? Reading case studies? Sitting with women who can't access healthcare?" The audience grew quieter. Sunny didn't interrupt. Jennifer continued. "And yet, when I speak about it, the first question is whether I'm qualified." Sunny's eyes shifted, not defensively but thoughtfully. "That question," Sunny said slowly, "is asked because your voice reaches millions. And yours doesn't?" Jennifer asked. A ripple of tension returned. Sunny responded evenly. "My voice is grounded in a legal framework. And mine is grounded in human stories," Jennifer replied. The clash wasn't loud anymore. It was sharper now. Precise. One co-host finally whispered, barely audible into her mic, "This is intense." Sunny's posture straightened. Human stories are powerful, but policy decisions can't rely on anecdote. Jennifer nodded. "True, but policy that ignores anecdote becomes detached from reality." The audience applauded again, more unified this time. Sunny hesitated. Just for a second. And that second was visible. Jennifer saw it. The control room countdown clock flashed red. 30 seconds until forced break. Sunny glanced toward the camera. Then back at Jennifer. Let me ask you this, she said, voice steady. If tomorrow an actor publicly misrepresented a legal case you worked on, would you challenge them? Let me ask you this, she said, voice steady. If tomorrow an actor publicly misrepresented a legal case you worked on, would you challenge them? Jennifer didn't hesitate. Yes. And would that be silencing them? No, Jennifer admitted. It would be correcting them. Sunny leaned in. So when we question you, Jennifer cut in gently. There's a difference between questioning and undermining. The words hung like a final chess move. Sunny's expression shifted again. Not anger, not triumph. Something more complex. Do you feel undermined right now? She asked. The entire studio seemed to hold its breath. Jennifer paused. And in that pause, something changed. Her shoulders lowered slightly. The fight in her posture softened. Yes, she said. It wasn't loud. It wasn't theatrical. It was honest. A murmur moved through the crowd. No longer divided applause, but something quieter. Empathy. Sunny blinked once. I'm not here to undermine you, she replied carefully. I'm here to hold conversations accountable. And I'm here, Jennifer said, her voice steadier now, because I care about what happens outside this studio. There it was, the human center of it all. For the first time since the exchange began, the tension shifted from confrontation to recognition. But the clock kept ticking. The producer's voice crackled into Sunny's earpiece. Wrap. Sunny glanced at the camera again. We're going to take a quick break. The audience exhaled collectively. As the theme music rose, the cameras pulled back. But the microphones were still hot. And just as the applause swelled to cover the transition, Jennifer leaned slightly toward Sunny and said, just low enough that only the front row could hear. You could have asked it differently. Sunny's reply came just as quietly. You could have answered it differently. The screen faded to commercial. But the storm had only begun. The cameras cut. The applause dissolved into scattered whispers. The bright red on air sign dimmed, but the tension did not. Stagehands moved quickly, adjusting chairs, handing out fresh cue cards, pretending the last 12 minutes hadn't just cracked open daytime television. Across the table, Jennifer Lawrence reached for her water glass. Her hand was steady now, but only because she forced it to be. Inside, her heart was still racing. Opposite her, Sunny Hostin removed her earpiece slowly, her expression thoughtful rather than triumphant. For a brief, untelevised moment, they were just two women in a room filled with people pretending not to stare. A producer rushed forward, whispering urgently to Sunny. We're trending already. Keep it controlled. Don't escalate. Another producer leaned toward Jennifer. We can pivot back to the film. Lighten it up. Jennifer gave a faint smile. I'm not angry, she said quietly. But anger wasn't the only thing people had seen. They'd seen conviction, vulnerability, defiance. And now the break was ending. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2. The red light flared back to life. The audience clapped on cue, but it felt different now. Less casual, more electric. Sunny adjusted her posture and looked into the camera. Welcome back. Her voice was calm, professional, but there was an undercurrent there, a recognition that this wasn't just another segment. She turned to Jennifer. I want to continue this, Sunny said, because I think it matters. Jennifer nodded once. So do I. No sarcasm. No edge. Just gravity. Sunny folded her hands. You said you felt undermined. Yes. Can you explain what that feels like? The question landed softer than the others. Not a trap. An invitation. Jennifer hesitated, not because she didn't know, but because she was choosing how much to reveal. It feels, she began slowly, like no matter how much work you do, the starting assumption is that you're naive. The audience quieted again. Sunny didn't interrupt. Jennifer continued. Like you're decorative. Loud. Emotional. But not informed. A murmur of recognition moved through parts of the crowd. Sunny's gaze softened. Do you think that perception is tied to gender? Jennifer gave a small, knowing exhale. Yes. The word wasn't explosive. It was heavy. Sunny nodded slightly. As a former prosecutor, I can tell you, being underestimated because you're a woman is something I've experienced too. That shifted the air. Jennifer looked at her more closely now. Sunny continued. But when I push back hard, I'm called aggressive. When I question sharply, I'm labeled hostile. Jennifer's expression flickered, surprise, maybe even understanding. And when I speak passionately, Jennifer added, I'm called dramatic. A few audience members clapped in recognition. Sunny allowed a faint smile. We're both navigating that line. The tension didn't vanish, but it transformed. Jennifer leaned forward slightly. Then maybe the issue isn't that we disagree. Sunny tilted her head. What is it? It's how we're framed when we do. The words lingered. One of the co-hosts jumped in carefully. Do you feel like this moment is being framed a certain way already? Jennifer let out a short laugh. Oh, absolutely. By the end of today, it'll be actress melts down or host destroys Hollywood star. The audience reacted, half laughter, half uneasy agreement. Sunny gave a subtle nod. Media does love a headline. And conflict sells, Jennifer added. A beat passed. Sunny leaned back slightly. But conflict can also clarify. Jennifer met her gaze. Only if both sides are listening. Silence again. Sunny looked directly at Jennifer. I am listening. And for the first time since the segment began, it felt true. Jennifer's shoulders relaxed a fraction. I don't think journalists are the enemy, she said. I think systems are complicated. And sometimes we take it out on each other. Sunny absorbed that. You came in ready, Sunny observed. Jennifer didn't deny it. I did. Why? Because she had expected this. Because she had been told this might happen. Because women in public life learn to brace. I've done interviews, Jennifer said carefully, where the focus shifts from the cause to whether I deserve to talk about it. Sunny nodded slowly. And I've done interviews where powerful people dodge responsibility by hiding behind charm. The audience murmured again. So maybe, Jennifer said, we both came in defensive. Sunny considered that. Maybe we did. The honesty caught people off guard. The exchange wasn't explosive anymore, but it was intimate. Sunny leaned in again, but not like a prosecutor. More like a peer. Let me ask you something without edge, she said. Jennifer nodded. When you speak out, do you ever worry about being wrong? Jennifer didn't hesitate this time. Yes. The audience went still. All the time, she continued. That's why I consult people. That's why I fund research. I don't want to get it wrong. Sunny's voice softened further. Then we have common ground. Jennifer studied her. We do. There was no applause this time. Just quiet attention. Sunny straightened slightly. But part of consulting experts means acknowledging that their expertise carries weight. Jennifer nodded. Of course. And part of having a platform, Sunny added, means accepting that tough questions will come. Jennifer held her gaze. I can accept tough questions. A beat. But not dismissive ones. Sunny inhaled slowly. Fair. The word echoed louder than any applause had. One of the co-hosts smiled cautiously. This might be the most honest conversation we've had all season. The audience laughed softly. But beneath the laughter was something real, a recalibration. Sunny turned slightly toward the camera. Conversations like this are uncomfortable. Jennifer nodded. But necessary. Sunny looked back at her. Do you regret anything you said? Jennifer paused. The moment felt pivotal. No, she said. But I regret that it felt combative. Sunny's lips curved faintly. Debate doesn't have to be combat. Jennifer allowed herself a small smile. Tell Twitter that. The audience finally laughed fully. The tension cracked, not shattered, but loosened. Sunny extended her hand across the table. Not dramatically, not theatrically. Just a simple gesture. Jennifer looked at it for half a second. Then took it. The audience erupted. Applause rolled across the studio, longer, louder, more unified than at any point before. It wasn't celebration of victory. It was recognition of something rare. Two strong voices clashing, and then choosing not to explode. But even as they released hands, the weight of what had happened lingered. Because this wasn't just about them. It was about how women in power are scrutinized. About how celebrity and journalism intersect. About who gets to speak, and who decides that. Sunny turned once more to Jennifer. I don't agree with everything you've said. Jennifer nodded. I don't agree with everything you've implied. A ripple of laughter. But, Sunny added, I respect that you showed up. Jennifer's response was immediate. And I respect that you didn't back down. The audience clapped again, this time warmly. The segment was nearing its end. Sunny glanced at her final card. Jennifer, she said, voice steady, your new film releases this weekend. There it was, the pivot back to promotion. Jennifer smiled, this time genuinely. It does. The studio lights felt less harsh now. But outside those walls, something else was happening. Clips were already circulating. Titles were forming. Opinions hardening. Because reconciliation doesn't trend the way confrontation does. And the internet was just getting started. By the time the closing credits rolled on The View, the moment had already escaped the studio. Clipped. Captioned. Weaponized. In living rooms across the country, viewers leaned forward, replaying the exchange. On phones, thumbs moved fast. Jennifer Lawrence destroys host. Sunny Hostin humiliates actress. The headlines contradicted each other, but they agreed on one thing. This was war. Backstage, the applause still echoed faintly as Jennifer Lawrence stepped off the set. Her publicist was already waiting, phone in hand, screen glowing with notifications. "It's everywhere," she said quietly. Jennifer exhaled. "Of course it is." Across the hall, Sunny Hostin sat for a moment longer at the table after the audience had cleared. The studio felt strangely empty now. She stared at the chair Jennifer had occupied. A producer approached carefully. "You okay?" Sunny nodded once. "I am." But she knew what was coming. Within an hour, trending lists lit up. Think pieces began forming before the full segment had even aired in all time zones. Clips cut out the handshake. Cut out the mutual acknowledgement. Left only the sharpest lines. Gatekeeping protects power. Respect the questions. Don't assume I haven't done the work. The phrases repeated in endless loops. On one side, fans praised Jennifer's boldness. They called it fearless. Necessary. Long overdue. They admired the way she refused to shrink. On the other, supporters of Sunny applauded her composure. Her refusal to let celebrity overshadow substance. They framed it as accountability, not antagonism. The narrative split clean down the middle. But what didn't split, what intensified, was the volume. By mid-afternoon, morning news outlets were replaying the exchange. Evening panels were booking body language experts. Social media accounts slowed down the footage, analyzing micro-expressions like forensic evidence. Did Sunny's jaw tighten? Did Jennifer's voice tremble? Was that a smirk? Was that a sigh? Every frame dissected. Every word reframed. Jennifer sat in the backseat of her car, scrolling despite her publicist's warning not to. She stood up for herself. She looked unprepared. She exposed media bias. She couldn't answer the question. The contradiction was dizzying. She locked her phone and stared out the window at passing traffic. In another part of the city, Sunny did the same. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages from colleagues. Journalists. Friends. You were strong. You went too hard. You handled it perfectly. You cornered her. Sunny placed her phone face down. Because beneath the noise, there was a quieter truth neither side online seemed interested in. The moment wasn't about winning. It was about friction. And friction, when televised, becomes spectacle. That evening, a primetime political commentator declared it a defining clash between celebrity activism and journalistic integrity. Another called it a masterclass in deflection. Neither mentioned the handshake. Neither mentioned the shared acknowledgement of gendered scrutiny. Conflict was cleaner. Conflict was clickable. By nightfall, memes flooded timelines. Dramatic music added under slowed-down footage. Freeze frames on narrowed eyes. Subtitles exaggerating tone. The internet had chosen its sides. And yet, something unexpected began happening too. Longer clips surfaced. Unedited segments. Viewers who watched the entire exchange noticed the shift, the softening, the admission of defensiveness, the mutual respect. Some posts read, "This wasn't a meltdown. It was complicated. They both had points. Why does everything have to be a fight?" But those posts traveled slower. Because nuance rarely trends. The next morning, Jennifer broke her silence first. Not with a fiery statement. Not with a clapback. Just a short post. Conversations about accountability and advocacy matter. Grateful for space to have them, even when they're uncomfortable. No mention of Sunny by name. No accusation. Just acknowledgement. Hours later, Sunny responded in her own way. Journalism isn't about comfort. It's about clarity. I respect guests who are willing to engage fully. Again measured. Controlled. But respectful. The media tried to stretch it into a continuation of conflict. Subtle shade. Cold response. But the fire had already burned hottest the day before. Inside the studio, producers reviewed the segment again in a closed-door meeting. "We can't manufacture that," one admitted. "It felt real," another said. And dangerous, someone added quietly. Because real conversations, unscripted, unsanitized, carry risk. They blur lines between debate and confrontation, between accountability and accusation. In the days that followed, invitations poured in. Jennifer was asked about it during a late-night appearance. The host grinned, eager. So that got intense. Jennifer smiled calmly. It got honest. On another network, Sunny addressed it briefly. Disagreement isn't disrespect, she said. We're capable of strong dialogue without personal animosity. Still, online factions clung to their narratives. Team Jennifer. Team Sunny. As though complexity required allegiance. But something else had shifted too. Clips of the moment were shown in journalism classrooms, in media studies discussions, in panels about celebrity activism. The exchange became a case study, not of collapse, but of collision. Two powerful women refusing to shrink. Two professionals guarding what they believed in. Not villains, not heroes, just human. And in that humanity lay the real shock. Because what happens when a Hollywood star shocks a daytime talk show with a bold response? Sometimes she exposes more than tension. Sometimes she reveals how desperately we crave spectacle over substance. Weeks later, when the noise had quieted and the headlines had moved on, a quieter impact remained. Viewers who rewatched the full segment noticed something they'd missed in the heat of the moment. The pause before Jennifer admitted she felt undermined. The flicker in Sunny's eyes before she said fair. The handshake. Not dramatic. Not theatrical. Just deliberate. And maybe that was the real story. Not that they clashed, but that they stayed. Stayed in the discomfort. Stayed in the disagreement. Stayed in the conversation. In a media landscape that rewards shouting matches and viral humiliation, that alone felt radical. The moment didn't end careers. It didn't spark boycotts. It sparked debate. And debate, when it resists becoming cruelty, isn't destruction. It's friction. And friction creates light. Now we want to hear from you. Did Jennifer Lawrence cross a line, or draw one? Was Sunny Hostin holding the line on accountability, or pushing too hard? Whose perspective resonated with you most, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have the conversation without turning it into a battlefield. And if you want more deep dives into explosive celebrity moments, raw confrontations, and the stories behind the headlines, make sure you subscribe to Stage View. Because sometimes the most shocking moments aren't about who wins. They're about what gets revealed when the cameras refuse to cut.